They're going to go here and try to get the three-point field goal. Unless they fake it, they could conceivably fake the field goal.
I'm being told there's possibly less than 30 seconds left in the half, so that would force Sam's decision here to go for the field goal. So let's see what the Indians can do here. Jeff Lawton. They get it down, and he gets it up.
In the front. Good snap, good hold. Kick is up, and it's through the uprights. Toms River South will take a 17-7 advantage into the locker room. Let's go down to Ed.
When the Friday night lights illuminate the field on Hooper, the whole town comes together and everyone convenes at Toms River South. For around 100 years, players and coaches have poured it all out in the field in an effort to prevail any team in the Shore Conference. Fans, families, and alumni pack the stand to support and cheer on student athletes they know and have relationships with. There's a genuine love and desire to seeing the victory bell being brought out. High school South football has always been about building a solid foundation for a young person's life based on the experiences that can only be taught through the game here. It's about cultivating genuine relationships between players, coaches, and a community of fans and alumni. Through the cheering of students and the sounds of the band, everyone on that field knows they have their town behind them. Football at South has always been more than a game. It's about what comes after when that clock hits zero. Whether or not the town marches around Main Street, the coaches have assured that their athletes take something out of every game. It's not about the wins or losses. It's about the morals you take from stepping onto that field. Luckily, we got the chance to speak with former coach Ron Signorino Sr., who bleeds maroon. We were able to speak with him and talk on how football has impacted his life.
My dad was a football coach, and when I was in 5th, 6th grade, I was kind of the water boy, and I was always involved with the team as a water boy, so to speak. Small high school. When I got into high school, obviously, I was very eager to play. I earned a starting position as a 10th grader. I played center on offense and linebacker on defense. My sophomore and junior years, we weren't very good. I think we were 3-6. My sophomore year, 2-7. My senior year, but we had the whole team back. And my senior year, thank God, we were undefeated. Matter of fact, we were unscored upon for the first 8 games. Our last regular season game, our opponent scored on us in the first half. Obviously, it was the first time we were ever behind. We were behind 6-0. It was still 6-0 at halftime, but we got it together the second half and won that game 20-6. Then we were champions of our division, county champions of our division, and we played the county champions of the neighboring county in our division. They had a 34-game winning streak. We beat them 14-7, which was obviously, as a player, the greatest game that I ever had anything to do with. And I can remember it was played on a neutral field, and I remember laying on the field when the game was over, pounding the ground and crying. And, you know, why are you crying? I said, I'll never play another high school game in my life. And I loved high school football. And they were not tears of joy over us beating this great team. They were tears of sadness because I knew my playing career in high school was over. And when I coach, here's what motivates me. I know that those boys are only there for a short period of time. And I feel, as coach, I need to give them the best program that I know how to give them. it motivated me to be as good a coach as I could be. Like I say, my dad was a coach. That's why I went to college and majored in phys ed, because I knew I was going to be a career coach. I've been associated with high school football as a coach 55 years.
Well, the start of the football program, and you might as well take a picture of this right here, was by Edgar M. Fink, right there.
Edgar M. Fink.
He was the one who, in around 1920, 1919, basically said, you have enough big guys here to have a football team. And so guess what? We've got a football team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Because of him. And I'm trying to get him in the Hall of Fame right now because we have the person who started women's sports here, but not the person who started boys sports, you know, which I think is unfair. We had a small sports program before, but it really never worked, you know. Mm-hmm. But Edgar Fink was the person who started the major sports program as we know it today.
When I came here in 1964, it was a grass field, and there were no bleachers on the visitor side. The field house was not there. The jailhouse was not there. And the addition of the cafeteria at South was not there. So it was much more wide open. The Hooper Avenue field, which is where we practiced, was much bigger because the cafeteria wasn't there.
Everybody up! Everybody up!
Nathaniel Detwiler was a coach. You know, he was a teacher. He had aspirations at one time of becoming an actor, you know, and in college he became an actor and everything else, you know. He was just a good guy. And those are the best words I can give you, you know, about Nathaniel Detwiler. He was a good man, but you did not fool around with him. I'll tell you that right now. You fooled around with Nathaniel Detwiler and you were in hot water. You get that? Hot water, you know, and so forth. He was tough. He was very, very tough.
He ended up becoming principal of Toms River High School. There was no South. I don't think he lived too long after I got here. I know he lived near the high school, and I know the high school was his life. I remember he used to come to games, but I honestly can't add. At least you know who he was. He went from teacher to head football coach to principal, and he deserves to have the field named after him, in my opinion. I did meet him, and I did chat with him, I enjoyed him very, very much. He was a very avid football fan. I have nothing but good memories, and people who knew Mr. Detwiler did nothing but be complimentary about him. And I think he liked me. I think he liked what we were doing with the football team.
Nathaniel Detwiler was born in 1900 in Spring City, Pennsylvania, into a family of 9. He grew up in this small farming community and earned the nickname Detty. Upon his graduation from high school, he entered Ursinus College, where he majored in English. While at Ursinus, he participated in the football program, and as a result of his determined efforts, he won his college letter and became the captain of his team in 1921. While an undergraduate, he was the president of his sophomore and senior classes and became the business manager of the school paper. Upon graduating from Ursinus College, Detwiler began to undertake law studies at the University of Pennsylvania Law School. After a year and a half, he gave up of this pursuit and moved to Toms River in 1923. This marked the beginning of his long and honored association with the school district, culminating with his retirement in July of 1960. During his initial years of association with Toms River High School, not only did Detwiler instruct English, but he also coached the baseball and football teams. Under his able leadership, his baseball team became the champion of Ocean County, and for the first time, the Toms River High School football team beat its arch-rival, Lakewood. Continued interest in dramatics led him to participate in the local Traco theater plays in Toms River. In 1926, the footlights lured him away from his real vocation for the last time. He participated in summer stock in Long Island and attained a walk-on part in a New York play.
In 1927, Detwiler returned to Toms River for the remainder of his professional career, at which time he was appointed part-time high school principal and continued to instruct senior English and coach of the football team. 2 years later, he married Miss Hazel Wismatch, a former graduate of Toms River High School. 1933 and 1934 were big years for Mr. Detwiler. He became a father, a full-time principal, and a student again when he began postgraduate studies at Columbia and New York University, which led to his master's degree in 1940. On April 24, 1953, a ceremony was conducted at the site of the new athletic field at Toms River High School to dedicate this field in honor of Mr. Nathaniel S. Detwiler, who at the time was completing 29 years of service to the school system. In 1933, Mr. Nathaniel Detwiler passed away at the age of 93. It can be fairly stated that Nathaniel S. Detwiler left a great mark on the Toms River schools and its thousands of students.
Get down there to see if, where it says Detwiler, see the Victory Bell.
18. It says 1891 on the bell.
What's that?
On this bell it says 1891.
Yeah, but isn't that cool? We did not buy that bell until 10 years after, the school was originally accredited by the state, right? But somebody, thank God, had the presence of mind to buy a bell that was cast in 1891. Can you believe that? So therefore, if you take a look at that Victory Bell right now, you'll see 1891 on it, because these guys, just had a sense of history, and they wanted to have a bell that had the same year, 1891 on it. It was hung in a belfry in the building that was built in 1901, and that was the new high school building. See, our first building was a wood frame building, and therefore they didn't have much room to expand and stuff like that. But in 1901, they built the new high school, and it was called J Building. Now, why was it called J Building? Because at one time, it was the old junior high building. And I was here at the time they ripped that building down. And guess what? People were crying because they had so many warm memories.
The Victory Bell, again, was in place before I ever got here. But I was aware of it, and it was always out there on the track. And yes, it's a tremendous tradition. you only rang it after you won the game. So my first year, that game that we won was not a home game, so we never rang the victory bell that first year. But we did ring it a lot after that, and everybody would. I would go over the players, everybody. Friday nights, well, in those days it was Saturday afternoon. There were no lights. Oh, that's another difference. There were no lights. No lights, no jailhouse, no visitors' bleachers, no cafeteria. So it was there wasn't even that big, beautiful press box that we have. In the field house, none of that was there. And the field was grass, which by the time the season was over, it was dirt and rocks. I remember on the night before the game, we would go around and, the little pebbles, we'd pick them up. The players and the coaches would pick them up. It was not a very nice field. That field was built after the Depression in the early 1930s by the WPA, okay, Workers Progress Association, WPA. Good. I hope I helped you there.
Yes.
Now, what is this for? This is a history project?
Yes.
So what are you going to do?
We're going to go through, we have an interview.
I think we're good. Thank you very much, Mr.
Okay.
Crowe. Thank you, Mr. Crowe.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you. It was a
Thank you very much.
a nice experience to deal with you gentlemen.